But now that your guest has gone, we are hoping that you will embark on the promise that you made to us on the 4th of October over the expose on cash in foreign accounts in what came to be known as the Pandora Papers. On that date, you said, and I quote, "These reports will go a long way in enhancing the financial transparency and openness that we require in Kenya and around the globe. I will respond comprehensively on my return from the state visit to the Americas," end quote. Now, I'm sure you made this pledge because you recognize just how important the matter of the Pandora Papers really is. Important to the fight against corruption. Important to the principle of transparency and accountability. Important for political hygiene. Whilst you, Mr. President, have not been specifically named, something you have pointed to, you promised us a response. In fact, I could go further and say you owe us one. And not just because you promised it, but also because your name has been dragged into this by virtue of family association. Now, of course, the question of offshore accounts are fundamentally not illegal. But, Mr. President, the questions being raised on this matter are not necessarily legal ones. They are moral questions, and they touch on the highest standards placed on our leaders, on you, and the legitimate expectations from the citizens. So as you prepare your comprehensive response, here are some questions I hope you can respond to. The Pandora Papers and the offshore accounts, whilst legal in some democracies, raise some moral questions. And, Mr. President, the list of those mentioned is not a roll of honor. From mobsters like Rafael Amato to Jolo, a known fugitive financier, among others. So what are your thoughts around this? That those closely linked to you chose to invest and save so heavily outside the country, is this truly a statement of your confidence and that of your family in the Kenyan economy itself? Why the choice in investing in trusts abroad and not in Kenya? And, Mr. President, how about the issue of tax avoidance? You know, even as KRA struggles to meet its targets in Kenya, much has been said about widening the tax bracket. Now, I'm sure this is a struggle that you know too well, having been in charge of this country for the last 9 years and having run the Treasury before. Are you not worried that this will send the wrong signal to Kenyans who faithfully pay their taxes right here at home? Mr. President, in your Mashujaa Day speech recently, you said, and I quote, "We remain committed to the anti-money laundering and combating financing of terrorism frameworks," end quote. Now, we know that offshore accounts have long been used to promote corruption and stash proceeds from such dealings and other forms of financial crime. So would the comprehensive statement you promised also include something about the sources of this money that Kenyans have spoken so much about these past few weeks? And would you welcome a further probe into this? And what about those who ask themselves whether you, Mr. President, have been a beneficiary of all of these investments? What do you tell them? Mr. President, this reminds me of that little matter of the lifestyle audit that you promised. Would this not be a good place to start? And in the spirit of transparency and openness, how about starting that process of making your wealth declarations public? I look forward, as I'm sure to many Kenyans, to that comprehensive response, which, as you said, could go a long way in enhancing financial transparency in the country. Kind regards.